You know that feeling, right? You're staring at a huge spreadsheet just full of numbers, and your eyes just glaze over. Raw data can feel like, well, just a bunch of noise. But what if you could take that noise and turn it into a super clear, compelling story? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to explore how picking the right chart can make all the difference. Okay, let's dive in. Just look at this. It's a simple list of grades for 13 students. Quick, can you tell me which grade shows up the most, or how many people got a C? I mean, you can do it, but it takes a second, right? You have to scan, you have to count, you have to keep track in your head. This right here is data without a story. It's just a collection of facts, and that's the problem we're here to solve. So let's start with the most basic question you can possibly ask of your data. How do we just count things up and compare different groups? This is really the core challenge when you're dealing with categories. It doesn't matter if we're talking about student grades, A, B, or C, or trying to figure out how students get to campus. We need a way to see, like instantly, which group is the biggest. So, what's the best tool for that job?
We'll say hello to the hero of our first story, the simple but incredibly powerful bar chart. The logic here is just so beautifully straightforward. The taller the bar, the more stuff is in that category. It's a super intuitive way to compare different groups with just a quick glance.
And look at this. See how instantly clear everything becomes? We're looking at 46 commuting students here, and your eyes are immediately drawn to that tallest bar. There's no counting, no guesswork. We know right away the bus is the most popular choice. That is the power of a good visual. But wait a minute, what about the pie chart? Everybody loves a pie chart, right? Well, it's easy to get them mixed up, so here's the key difference. You use a bar chart when you want to compare different, separate things, but you use a pie chart when you want to show how each of those things makes up a part of one single total. In other words, the slices of the pie. So if we look at that same data, but this time in a donut chart, which is basically just a modern pie chart, the story actually shifts a little bit. Instead of just comparing the raw counts, now we're seeing the proportions. Taking the bus, that's almost half of all the journeys. The focus is now on each mode slice of the total pie of 46 students.
Okay, so we know how to count and we know how to compare, but what if we need to be a bit more strategic? Let's move on to our next challenge, which is all about finding the few things that have the biggest impact.
So, imagine you're analyzing how much consumer prices went up over a decade. You've got data for clothes, food, medical care, you name it. They all went up, sure, but which one is really hitting people's wallets the hardest? How do we cut through all that noise and find the one that matters most? Here's that same data in just a regular old bar chart. I mean, all the information is there. We can kind of see that medical care is high, but the chart isn't really helping us prioritize, is it? Our eyes have to jump all over the place to compare the bars. It's presenting facts, but it's not really making an argument.
And this is where something called the Pareto principle comes in. You might know it as the 80-20 rule. The whole idea is that in a lot of situations, just a few key factors, the vital few, are responsible for most of the impact. The Pareto chart is literally designed to show you exactly that. And the magic behind it is so simple. You take a regular bar chart and you just do two things. First, you sort the bars from the tallest to the shortest. And second, you add a line that shows the running total, the cumulative percentage. That's it. It's a tiny change that tells a way bigger story. Now look at this table. Just by sorting the categories, medical care immediately jumps out as the #1 driver. But that cumulative percent column, that's the real storyteller. It shows us that just the top 3 things, medical care, rent, and food, account for 68% of the total price increase. All of a sudden, our attention is focused right where it needs to be.
So far, we've been dealing with neat little categories. But what about when we're working with numerical data? Like measurements. This brings us to our third challenge, understanding the distribution, or what we call the shape of our data. So let's say we have the heights of hundreds of trees in a forest. Are most of them kind of the same height, clustered around an average? Or are the heights all over the place? Is the data symmetrical? Or are there a whole bunch of really tall or really short trees making it lopsided? These are all questions about the data's overall pattern.
To answer those questions, we use a histogram. Now, it looks a lot like a bar chart, I know, but there's a huge difference. Instead of plotting separate categories, a histogram takes a whole range of numbers, groups them into these little bins, and then shows you how many data points fall into each bin. A histogram is just a fantastic tool. In one single picture, it tells you where the center of your data is, how spread out it is, if it's symmetrical or skewed to one side, and if there are any weird outliers or multiple peaks. It really gives you a feel for the data's personality.
But a histogram can be a little bulky. especially if you want to compare the shapes of a few different groups next to each other. So what if you need all those same insights, center, spread, skewness, but in a much more compact format?
For that, we turn to the box plot. It's honestly a brilliant little piece of data visualization that summarizes your data's entire distribution using just 5 key numbers, the minimum, the maximum, and the 3 quartiles that split the data into 4 equal parts.
And you can see right here how the two are directly related. The box part of the plot, that represents the middle 50% of your data. It's that main cluster you see in the histogram. The line in the middle is the median, the center point. And those whiskers stretch out to show the full range of the data. It's basically the whole story of a histogram, just told in shorthand. So we've looked at counting things, we found the biggest impacts, and we've figured out how to see the shape of our data. Let's kind of bring it all together now, because choosing a chart isn't just some technical thing you do, it's really an act of storytelling.
The big takeaway here is to always start with the question you're trying to answer. If you're comparing counts, go for a bar chart. If you're trying to find that vital few, you build a Pareto chart. And if you need to understand the shape of your numbers, a histogram or a box plot is going to be your best friend.
Remember, anyone can plug numbers into a program and spit out a graph. The real skill, the real art, is choosing the one visual that will make your message absolutely impossible to misunderstand. You are the director of your data's story. The data is waiting. You've got the tools in your hands. The only question left is, what story are you going to choose to bring to life?